So mine was on chapter 4, and it was communication and learning.
Are we recording now?
Mhm.
Okay.
So the chapter talked about the differences between how experts process information and how novices do. Because our brain, our memory holds X amount of information. The expert already has his background information in it, the prior knowledge. So it's easier for him to learn something new than the novice who is trying to store it in short-term memory. Have you guys ever gone into a presentation or a class and there's so much information coming at you, you go away with a headache?
Mm-hmm.
Because your short-term memory is getting too full.
Overload.
It can only hold so much. And so the experts, you can get in front of a class of experts, you can breeze through some of it, they're gonna know exactly what you mean. The novice is gonna go, can you back up? Because I'm not sure what you mean. So you have to communicate very differently. You have to know your audience, know what they know, essentially. And then it also talks about the two different types of learning, the declarative and the procedural. And I call declarative just common sense. It's something that you figure out from what's out there. You're given a situation, you make rationales, you figure, okay, if this then this, where procedural it is, you follow this. How do you make a phone call? I was going to say you pick up and dial, but we're beyond that. So to make a phone call, you hit the dial pad, you dial a number, that's procedural. You don't have to think beyond it, you could do it with your eyes closed, essentially. It's just something you don't have to think about. And most day-to-day learning is declarative. So to me, learning is declarative, procedural is teaching, because you just teach the steps. And then it goes into the trouble with subject matter experts. Experts and novices treat information differently. Okay, I know that, move on. I don't have a clue what you're talking about, can you expand on that? And then the key role of the trainer, and that's what I think is really important, because the trainer is so important in learning. How they teach, how they act. Are they willing to teach individually? Because you're going to get 25 or 30 people, and they're going to be 5 or 10 different ways they learn. So I have this handout on the role of a trainer. May discourage you from becoming a trainer.
I already am one, it's too late.
I know. I've done it. And I'll put this up here. Probably going to be backwards, but you can hold it up to a mirror. So the role of the trainer is great. You're not just training. You're also learning. You're also a psychologist. You have to listen to what your audience is saying. You have to listen to the question. You have to listen to what's behind the question. You're also a creator, an innovator. You have to know and understand and be able to implement people's learning styles. That's the most important thing in the trainer, is to make sure that you're training to the people. You have to know training styles before you even go into it, so that you can pick up on cues on how people learn and then address that towards them in their direction. And a very important thing that a trainer has to do is create a safe environment. You don't want somebody to go, this might be a stupid question, or not ask because they think it's a stupid question, because these people over here know that. So you have to create a very safe environment where they can explore, they can ask, and they can really learn. They need to be able to feel comfortable saying, can you write that down, because I understand better if you write it down, and not have somebody in the background snickering, oh my gosh, can't they just listen? So it's very, very important that we have a safe learning environment. And the chapter also talked about the key ingredients for learning. A person's ability. A person is born with that ability. You can't change that. They can either do it or not, but what we do as a trainer is we teach them to the best of their ability. So they have as much right to an education, to learning, as someone that has a higher ability. So you have to know your audience and gear it towards that. Don't expect everybody to learn the same. For a novice, it's easier to give them small chunks of information to process at a time rather than a huge amount, because they can process these little pieces. The human memory, 7 to 8 things, is the biggest thing that you can memorize. Beyond 7, you really struggle. That's why phone numbers are 7 digits. It's easy to remember the phone number. You don't have to think about the area code because you just know what that is. So you have to gear it to their ability, give them small chunks, and maybe part of the group is going, I know that. Well, turn around and give them a bigger chunk, but help them both learn. And then again, prior knowledge is so important. So important. Because if you come in to a classroom of, like I do with freshmen, and you go off about midterms and finals, and they're going to go, oh my gosh, I can't do this, because it sounds overwhelming. They have no prior knowledge of what it is, and they're going to just cry or drop out or something. So you have to take know their prior knowledge. Step back. For one of the orientation classes, we do a time management chunk. We do a get to know the campus chunk. So it's very chunked. Test note-taking. Many people learn better that way. And then, of course, motivation. People don't learn unless there's motivation. You say, we got this workshop we want you to go to. I go, okay. Well, if you go through it, you do well, you may get a raise. Or you go through it, you do well, it's going to help your chances of getting promoted. Okay, there's your motivation. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to listen and I'm going to pay attention. So give them a reason to learn. I mean, even if it's something that probably will never pertain to their job, somehow adjust it, motivate them, show them how it can apply in their life, the benefits it can bring to them. So you got to get the motivation going on it. So essentially what it's saying in that chapter, like it says in the other chapters, you've got to gear learning towards your people. That's where your theories of learning, you have to know the theories of learning before you can teach them, to know how the best way to teach them. So pretty much that's what went over in that chapter. And I do have an activity.
Can I ask you a question first?
Yes.
You talked about creating a safe environment.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go about doing that?
For me, I will tell them, like when I go in my first year seminar classes and they get really nervous and I get up there and it's like, you know what? I was where you are. I understand there's no stupid questions. The only way you're going to learn is to ask.
And so you address the whole class very first time.
Mm-hmm. Do not ever be afraid to ask. You don't know, you can't fix it if you don't ask. And I always try to relate myself to it in some way. See, I just graduated last May with my second degree. I don't tell them it was the second one. So I say, just last year I was a student just like you. And so it kind of makes them go, oh, okay, maybe she does understand.
And do you address with your the people you're training on how they need to be respectful of people asking questions?
Absolutely. That's one thing that's on the first day. You don't interrupt, you don't snicker, you don't laugh, you show the respect you want to get. Everybody understands on different levels. You may know this, they don't. Respect them. Help them learn. Give us your input. So I try to involve them with everybody else's learning so that they're not snickering, they're going, oh, I'm important.
Right.
Creating an active learning environment.
Mm-hmm. I'm very much
versus just a
into
straight
active learning.
lecture.
Yeah.
I have become that way myself, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not a teacher, but in training I like to have them participate and explain, how do you learn better? I had one girl that learned better hands-on like myself, and
Mhm.
not so much through the readings. So it was easier just to relate to them, and it's easier when it's one-on-one, but whereas a lecture hall, like she said, that was actually interesting for me, because I don't know how to, I jumped headfirst into college right out of high school and didn't do any of the introductory courses. I just
Mhm.
went straight in, and so we didn't have the one that's okay, it was active, be respectful, this, and you
Yeah.
just come straight out of a high school environment where, you know, sex ed class was a snickering, you know,
Mhm.
kind of
It's like that
joking
in
matter,
college,
you know what I
too.
mean? Well,
Yeah.
Yeah,
to an extent, but it's a little more,
yeah.
it's more of an educational, whereas it's,
And that was one of the, you know, the class I was telling you, the sex education class that I did at Utah State, that was, the safety had to be established immediately, because it's very sensitive information. And I wanted everyone to feel comfortable. I had one student that was not comfortable at all because he happened to be my backdoor neighbor, and I was best friends with his wife, and so it was not a comfortable, safe environment. So we had to make some adjustments. He wasn't expected to speak out in class. When he did papers, the professor scored him. His journals, I never did anything with him. That was my way to create a safe environment for him.
to avoid bias and things like that.
Yeah.
Or like the scare of a bias.
Yeah,
or, you
and
know.
oh, what's she gonna think? She knows me and my wife, we go to church together, they're best friends.
Yeah.
She doesn't need to know this, and that's true. I didn't, so
Mhm.
there's many ways to create a safe environment.
Thanks.
Okay, so I have,
This isn't.
I have- don't look at that yet. Turn it over, and that way, I want you to draw a picture of a pig. He's gonna have to look at this in a mirror.
Well, I have a pen, I just didn't have, I'll just draw on the back of
Yeah,
this.
just do it on the back. And this kind of will show you how people communicate even through their drawings. Because communication is really key in training, educating, training. You've got to be able to communicate.
Do you guys have a book handy?
I have an electronic one. Kyle's got a book.
I have a hard page marked, but other than that, I'm good.
I got mine free on Scrib. If you read it on your computer, it's free. And then when you're done, I want you to show Brandon your pigs.
I drew it pretty small, actually.
That's okay.
I don't know if you can even see that.
Yep.
There's a pig.
Okay. So now let's go over the way you learn, the way you perceive things. So turn it back over for now so we can see the pig. Okay, so did you put it near the top? You did, Kyle.
Yes.
Means you're positive and optimistic. You did it in the middle, and you did yours in the middle. That's pretty much standard. Means you're a realist. If it's at the bottom, you're a pessimist. So, Kyle, is yours facing left or right?
Facing left.
Okay, so if you face left, you're traditional and friendly. If you're facing right, you're innovative and active, but you have a bad memory. If it's looking straight on, you're direct and confrontational.
My butt's turned, but my face is forward.
Okay, very detailed. They look pretty detailed. Michelle has eyelashes even. So if it's very detailed, you're analytical and cautious. Fewer details, you care little for details and you're willing to take risks. Okay, If it has less than 4 legs, you're insecure or experiencing a change. If you have all 4 legs visible, then you're secure and stubborn.
I'll write for
If you have more than 4 legs, you're just crazy.
a 3. Creative.
Yeah.
It's art.
The size of the ears. The bigger, the better for listening.
I have little ears compared to the head.
Yeah. So does that mean that you're closed and listening?
Mm.
No. It just says the bigger ears, the better. So see, you can, it's almost like you're learning styles by your drawing. I mean, I would never have thought of drawing it up in the corner. I'd take the whole page. But that reflects your personality, that
Well, I have
reflects
room
your
to
style.
Draw more stuff.
There you go.
I can make a whole pack of pages.
There you go. So that just kind of gives you an idea of your style, your personality and style, and that reflects back into your learning style as well. And your training style. Do you think your training style is you're more of a realist? Do any of those fit along your training style?
Yes, I'm
Mhm.
extremely detail and analytical in my training,
Yeah.
Me too.
but I'm artistic outside, so I would have actually, like, if I had a canvas, I'd be using the whole thing.
Yeah.
but-
So it's just kind of funny the way your personality, your styles show up in your learning, in your drawing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much what my chapter covered.
Hmm.